Good morning, everybody. My name is Marty Forrest. My website is Hello Extraordinary Life. You can check out the website. There is a free offer on the landing page, Steps to Reprogramming Your Negative Self-Talk, which I'm still in the process of changing. All right, so I muted us because I was hearing some background noise. You can hit *6 if you have something that you need to ask in the middle of that. So I am for hire as a coach. If you have places you'd like to go inside of yourself that you're not quite sure how to traverse on your own, and you just want to go deeper healing, deeper levels of acceptance and self-love, I am also offering my 6-week course. I have it planned to start on the 14th. However, I think I have not given myself enough time to really fully get out there and get into the conversation with some people, so I'm going to postpone the date for a couple of weeks, which will be right in alignment with the full moon on the 28th, I think is what I'm going to look at. So if you want more information about that, that's also on the website. All these calls are recorded and listed by title. This one is Our Choices Determine Our Focus. And I was speaking with my friend Monday, today's Wednesday, Monday, and we were talking about she'd been watching the news, not news, seeing stuff on Facebook, people posting on Facebook about Trump and all this stuff going on, and quite frankly, I'm not in all that. I see a little bit, but I just choose to unfollow or hide the post or whatever, because I know myself how charged I can get about that stuff. And so I'm choose to not look or see those things or unfollow or whatever it is. The news, we don't watch the news here, because I know how emotionally charged I get about stuff. And then I get focused on it, and I get hyper-focused on it, and I get crazy about it. And then it runs amok in my head. And I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and she's like, I got the whole committee running amok. And I'm like, I have a whole freaking coliseum when it's running amok. It's not just a committee. I can manage a committee. But when I have a whole coliseum that drowns out every other thing in my brain, I can't get out of my own way. Okay, so that's where the topic came out of, where I choose to look, where I choose to focus. And so I mentioned my 6-week course, and I've been focusing on how am I going to get people in my course, and how am I going to do these things, and I'm stuck in it. And underneath that, my motive is fear that I'm not going to get people in it, and fear that I'm not going to make any money. Well, that's a wedge right there, right? I wake up in the morning and my brain kicks on, because now I've given myself a date, which was going to be Saturday. And I thought, I just got to get real about this and share with people how it occurs for me, like real time. This is real time today, that scarcity thinking shows up and that fear shows up. And then I focus on that. And it's a choice, because I opened the door. And it happens when I wake up first thing in the morning, because now my brain's not quite fully engaged yet. But the moment it gets engaged, it's off and running. About how am I going to make this happen, and how am I going to fill this, and I'm doing the same thing over and over. I do this every time I run a course. And lo and behold, it gets filled up. I've given myself usually a little more time to do that. So I have evidence that says it's going to be fine. And yet I still choose to walk in that rut, because what happens in our body, the minute I tap into that, is the fear gets engaged, the adrenaline gets running, and the brain gets going, and that neural pathway in the brain, I'm in it. I'm stuck in it, like those wagon wheel ruts that you can still find on the earth, where they cross the United States to discover different states. And you still find those ruts. That's what it looks like in our brain, those ruts. And once I get in one, I'm in it. And it's harder to get out. The more I practice getting out, which means I put something in place so when the trigger happens, I can practice what I've put in place. Like, for me, choosing to not watch the news. I choose to not watch the news because I have all kinds of opinions about it, but because I get engaged. Because it makes me feel afraid. And then I get caught up in the world of fear. The world, our culture of fear. That's what I mean by that. Our culture is, majority is primarily driven by fear. And we all get caught in that energy. So now when I wake up in the morning, I practiced this morning, and then I inspired myself to get real with you all and just really talk about what's so for me when it shows up like this. Because I didn't want to. I want to talk myself out of it. No, I can't tell them the truth. I can't be vulnerable and tell you that I feel afraid sometimes that I'm not going to fill up my course, when really my reason why, when I can get out of my way and stop looking at, oh, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough people, or I don't have enough time, or whatever that kind of stuff is, when I get into the why am I doing it? Because I want to reach more people. And I want to share the message, and I want to help others get out of their own way, and also have skills and tools to have the ways of learning how to love ourselves, how to heal from the inside out, so that we can at least stop the mind fuck before we get in it. And it just takes practice. But that's my why. I'm really passionate about, I want to help other people live a fulfilled, authentic, with themselves, being kind to themselves kind of life. When I wake up in the morning and I'm coming from a place of fear and scarcity, I'm not in my why. And whether I'm saying it or I'm living it, no matter how I'm delivering it, people get a little sense of that. And who knows, that may be my own wedge that I put in my way. This morning I woke up and it started again. And I thought, really? So now I'm catching it, right? I know it's the morning when I wake up. I know I have a date that I put in place. What can I do different? That's what I ask myself. What can I do different today? And that simple question turns my brain in a different direction, gets me out of that rut and out of that neural pathway to do something else. And when I was writing the email, I started thinking about this, and then I put it in place for myself. What did I put in place for me before? So I know what my trigger is. It's in the morning I wake up, and it may not be about this course. It may be about something else that I wake up, because my cue, when my brain, even if I'm not paying attention, I'm not being mindful of what my thought is, my body gets hot instantly. I go, oh, crap, I'm hot. What am I thinking about? Right? There's a physical cue for me to pay attention to what is my thought. And this morning, I said, what am I going to do different? I'm going to postpone my date, and I'm going to get back into my why, and I'm going to start sharing from that place. Give myself a couple more weeks and stop feeling like it's never going to be enough, because that's underneath all the other stuff of that fear. It's never enough, right? That's a long-standing program for most of us. Never enough, never the right thing, I'm not good enough, all that stuff. And I can go, oh, yeah, that's what it is. But how do I get out of that pathway and the chemistry that gets kicked off? Because once I get into that emotional state, there's a whole body chemistry going on. And then it takes even more. That's why you ever see those shows or people that get hysterical and they get slapped? Because you can't reach them any other way except to shock them back to reality. Now, maybe that's not the way to go, slapping them. But, when I've talked about this before, when we get in that emotional state, I'm not reasonable. And when I'm off and running in my head in the morning, fortunately I've had enough practice, but when I first even became aware that I'm choosing, and I went, well, then how do I choose something else? So for me, it's been, and this is what I want to share, is to put something else in place. Like the question, what am I going to do different? Meditate, pray. Maybe sometimes I'll go, hey, coach. I call my brain my ego. That's what that is, my ego. Hey, coach, let's find another solution. Because that gives my brain something else to do, and it kicks it into a safety place. Because when I get in the fear, I'm no longer feeling safe. I'm only in survival. When I can go, hey, coach, let's do something else. Let's find another solution. Now I've given my brain some other way to go. I've befriended it, and I've learned how to manage it. That's when I remember to do it. I don't always remember to do that. But that's been one of the really effective tools. And I actually didn't do that this morning. I just went, okay, what are you going to do different? Today, what are you going to do different? And that was getting back into my why. Why do I do this? Why am I so passionate about it? What makes me want to get up in the morning and share with you and do these calls every week? I'm getting more and more traction. More and more people are listening. I get a report from the free conference. So when I can remember the why I'm doing something, that helps me too. Sometimes we get triggered in something. The wound gets touched, and we're instantly in that emotional state. All the tools are out the window. So maybe at that point, it's about giving ourselves permission. Because we're conscious enough to know that I just got triggered, or you just got triggered. Maybe it's about then, because sometimes I do this for myself, okay, well, I have permission to be in this place for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something, call someone. So sometimes just giving myself permission to, and acknowledging that I got triggered, and allowing myself to feel it and walk through it. That gives me that state of there's an end point. And I don't have to stay in it. But I do get to feel it. I don't have to do anything. I get to feel it. And I get to walk through it. And that's a choice. But I don't have to stay living in it. I think my brain just went empty, so I think I'm done there. Let me unmute you. Unmute. Oops. All right. I covered a lot in a very short time. Anybody want to share what they got? Have an aha moment? How you related? You're unmuted. Anybody there?
Yes, I must talk. Excuse me. This is Joni. I was just right there with you, Marty, on everything, because I'm sitting up here in a room with a closed door because my husband is watching some TV show, but she always points on the news things, and I purposely don't want to see the news things. A headline is enough for me. I don't want to get it all embroiled because I get the same thing. I was getting mad. I mean, I'll get mad about good things. Some soccer player, I don't know how many millions of dollars, $32 million or some crazy thing, and that upset me. That's supposed to be a good thing, right? But I got upset because he's got all that money and the rest of us are, piddling around like little robots.
Right.
We're like the robot slaves, and they drive us by fear. Exactly how they do that is by implanting fear. And I was sitting there thinking, my husband had the tail end of the news on when I was down there. And I was thinking how much I would get wrapped up in it because even if, and I'm saying to myself now, I should just think about gardening because once I get started, it's crazy. I kind of feel like a crazy person because I'm angry about something. I think I can't control it for one, so that makes me mad. And I just feel like we're putting out so much effort every day trying to do this and that, and it doesn't really have to be that hard.
No,
if we, it would be nice if we could just, share. But it hasn't worked out that way. So.
No, but it sounds like you've made some choices. Thank you. You've made some choices to walk away. And there are times when I'm in a really good space that I will choose to watch something or see something because then I want to pray for it. So that's my motive. So I want to say a prayer for whatever that might be, rather than getting caught in the minutia of it. So that's sometimes when I look at my motive, I may watch something for that reason. Again, a choice.
Yeah, just walk away.
Until I can manage myself. Yeah, I don't want to fill my space with that kind of energy. So, anybody else? I think Stacy is still here and Lisa is still here.
I enjoyed what you had to say. It's hard to catch yourself and change the thought pattern, especially when emotion's caught in it.
Yes.
Very difficult.
It is because there's something that happens in the body when the emotions kick in.
Yeah, and you feel the little burst of adrenaline going through your body, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm going to cry again, and here it goes, or
yeah.
Or you're going to get angry, or the more in tune you are with your body, you get those subtle hints, like you getting hot. I can't attribute it to that because I get hot flashes all the time. So then I'd be driving myself crazy trying to decide.
Right. I understand that, for real. I do. But it's a different kind of heat. It is. It's a different, it's not just a hot flash. It's like, just everything turns on. So sometimes my cue is when I'm angry and there's something underneath it, I'll start dropping F-bombs. Out of context to whatever's going on, and I'll start doing that, and then I go, So I start paying attention. So so sometimes it's just becoming aware of what is the cue for me. And the other thing I didn't touch on, before Stacy, if you're able to share, the other thing I didn't touch on is sometimes you were talking about, Joni, implanting the fear, and it's once we get engaged, we add to the global or cultural, energetically, we add the fear to the fear, which keeps perpetuating that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the other part is why I don't watch the news and things, because or the thing about animals stuff. There's things I know that send me off the deep end. And rather than, until I can be in a space to see it, or maybe I choose never to see it. Not never, that's pretty extreme, but to not watch it, because I don't want that energy in my own space. Now, whether I can be neutral or not is immaterial of how I choose to put things in my space. Because that will sometimes determine my focus, because now I'm caught up in their fear, and it may not even be my own. I may have some of my own, but I now get caught up in the mass of the fear or whatever that emotion is. And the opposite is true also. When we get a global or cultural movement of a love fest, let's say, or like Woodstock, they have the whole love fest. So when we get caught up in that, it can have the same momentum. Fear just seems to be the thing that permeates because it's everywhere until we choose to look somewhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to protect yourself from all of that when it's there in front of you 24/7 if you're looking at your phone or Facebook or TV or...
Right. So it's about being mindful and selective about that. Because I see now there's a lot of drug commercials, stuff like that, and we scroll through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be fairly neutral, and I can make a joke about it today, but that wasn't always true.
But I sit there. Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Okay. I sit there and watch. It's the evening news when I try to sit down with my husband, and it's commercial after commercial, and I hear one symptom after another, Marty. That is, to me, evoking fear. When you hear commercial after commercial, even if you're paying half attention, it's still there. Right. They're saying all these symptoms, and I'm sitting there asking my husband to turn it off. You can't even listen to the commercials because they get you in there too. They get you everywhere. And
hold on.
We have to have the awareness.
Joni, hold on. That's why they call it programming. It's called programming for a reason.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. So I want to check in with Stacy before we depart, if she's able to share.
Hi, this is Stacy. A couple of years ago, I did a cleanse of my spirit, and what I did is I logged off of Facebook. I logged off of social media. I shut the news off. I don't listen to the TV except for my tape programs. And I did that I was off Facebook for 18 months, which was huge because you don't realize how addicting that site is until you try to wean yourself from it. But what I found is I get to choose where I put my energy now. And when I came back and started participating back on social media, I got very selective on who and what comes onto my feed. And I don't apologize anymore for deleting or unfriending or blocking things. It's only spiritual. It's only positivity. I mean, there's some negative sometimes, but it's life stuff, not fear-based, fear-driven programming. And the more I step away from that, the more peace I find. I'm a fear-based person, so I have to be very protective of the energy that comes into my circle. And it took me a long time because I'm a people pleaser, but, I got to take care of my health. So those are the things. And one thing I wanted to comment is my girlfriend Susie used to always say there's only two deep-seated emotions. It's either fear or love. So if I'm in love, I'm not going to be in fear. If I'm in fear, I'm not in love.
That's right.
So those are my little takes.
Thank you. And you can cast all the other emotions under either label. It's either love or fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.